Hey guys, if you like the content, please be sure to like the videos and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here doing 8-4 Born of the Gods. We ended up taking down the Swiss draft in the last one, so we're ready for an 8-4. And we've opened some good ones here. We've got Fanatic of Xenagos, which is 2 colors right away. Typically don't like to do that. However, he is very strong. We've also got Noble Quarry. You guys know, big fan of this card. Siren of the Fanged Coast. I mean, it's either a 5-mana 4/4 flyer or a 5-mana 1/1 flyer that steals something. I feel like both of those are really good. Perhaps I'm wrong. I mean, this card certainly sucks on an empty board, but if there's any sort of threat, I think it's super strong. So I think we can reasonably take that first. Doesn't commit us to 2 colors. 5 drops are typically much easier to get than 3 drops, I guess I'll say, but I want to stay open for now, as open as possible. And Vacuum, I think Siren and Fanatic are probably pretty close. All right, we've got some choices here. Vacuum, strongest, is presumably the Asphyxiate. I seem to never see this card, by the way, the Follower. I feel like I never see that card. Tromokratus, awesome finisher. I think that's hard to deny. Asphyxiate's the best card in the Vacuum. I think we're probably just going to snag that little fella and be okay with that. Cure's Follower obviously works extremely well with Inspired. I like that. But it also ramps you, so it's all dual purpose, which I also like. But yeah, Asphyxiate, it's definitely worth snagging here. And hoping to wheel Tromokratus or Stratus Walk. I'd be satisfied with either. Alright. Follow up pick. We've got Sudden Storm, which I do like a lot, although blue-black is typically more control-ish, where Sudden Storm doesn't shine quite as much. Still very powerful card. We also have Meletus Astronomer, who is going to be amazingly good if we can pick up some Bestow, some Auras, anything like that. Typically you can, and then he can do some awesome stuff for you. And at worst, he's a pretty good blocker, so I think I'm pretty comfortable taking him. Vacuum pick in here is probably, I don't know, probably the Astronomer or the Sudden Storm, honestly. So that's a good sign, at least in terms of something we're hoping to wheel here. But yeah, nothing crazy in here beyond those 2 cards, so Astronomer it is. Alright, got Drown in Sorrow, Shrike Harpy, Perplexing Chimera. Chimera, not a huge fan of this card. Cute ability, not a big fan. I think we can comfortably take Drown in Sorrow. I mean, it's quite a good removal spell, and we're already on a path where we want to be more control-ish. So I'm okay with Drown in Sorrow. It certainly can wreck the old red-white deck. I like that. Otherwise, Shrike Harpy's probably fine, and Chimera is playable. It's just nothing exciting. But yeah, Drown in Sorrow it is. That's some good removal. Alright. Next, we've got Oracle's Insight, which I can see being really good alongside the Astronomer. Otherwise, a second Sudden Storm. But now that we're comfortably getting in this control-ish position, I think the Insight is actually really what we want. Can you imagine putting this on a little Triton Fortune Hunter? That'd be pretty sweet. Otherwise, Floodtide Serpent is cool if we get some cantrip auras. He's a decent threat for later, but big threats are typically easier to find than good control-ish cards, so let's take the Insight for now. Okay, so options here. I do like the Odunos River Trawler. Even if you can't use the white ability, getting an enchantment creature card back. We currently have 0, which doesn't make it as good, but I like the idea of it. I think we're probably more in line with the whole Whelming Wave idea. We're in blue, so presumably we can pick up some krakens, leviathans, octopi, serpents. They say octopuses. I always thought it was octopi, but what do I know? Yeah, I mean, river trawler's cool, but I think we're just going to go with the rare here. Let's go with the whelming wave. Potentially better. Wow. Well, that's surprising. Well, I'm not going to take the second one. I think we're going with the servant here. Much more in line with what we're trying to do. Locks up the board a little bit better. Also very good with Oracle's Insight. Double whelming wave. A wee bit too awkward for my taste. And servant is going to work really well with our Drown in Sorrow. So we can even kind of build around our Drown in Sorrow a little bit. I mean, we don't have to go overboard with it, but we can do a little bit of designing. Servant it is. Fated Return. I mean, yeah, it's a finisher. We've got some removal. Otherwise, it's Necrobite. Fated Return certainly is the best, it's the most powerful effect in here. I actually like Pillar of War a lot defensively. 3 mana, 3/3 blocker is certainly good. But, I don't know. We should try out Fated Return. I guess the card's not great. It does give you an indestructible guy, but at the low cost of 7 mana. I think it's certainly the most exciting pick in here, so we'll take it. Okay, Divination versus Ashiok's Adept. Currently just have the Oracle's Insight to target the Adept with, which makes it a little bit less sexy. But Divination is definitely going to be very good. We need to find... It's going to help us find answers. Very important card for control. Let's take the Divination. Okay. Let us take Fellhide Brawler, not what this deck's looking for. Let's take the Eye Gouge, good sideboard removal, or material at the very least. Alright, Floodtide Serpent versus Grizzly Transformation. I think the Floodtide Serpent's going to be fine. He's at least a good blocker, and potentially with cantrip auras out of the next couple packs, he could be a decent finisher. Forsaken Drifters is playable, and presumably more playable than these two little fellas, so alright. At least trades with something. Scouring Sands, sure. And wow, I'm surprised to see that. This card is certainly playable. It's a good sign for black. Didn't see too much removal, but we've got Asphyxiate and Drown in Sorrow. Would have liked a Retraction Helix or two, but I can settle for this. So we are definitely more of a control-ish build, which means removal is more important. Hard removal, preferably, but we'll settle for what we can get. Ooh, Sylvan Caryatid. I gotta check the price on that little bad boy very quickly. Hopefully it's not worth that much. Sylvan Caryatid. Worth 1 ticket. Okay, not a big deal. That tells me we can take something better. Well, we can take Grey Merchant. I think that's certainly a card that gets you to the late game. Especially good in multiples, and if we were to open a whip, it just gets out of control. There's also Griptide and Sip of Hemlock, both very good control cards. But I would say Grey Merchant fits in right in with what we're doing. We've got the early control, and then we can just play guys that don't die to Drown in Sorrow. So we will be needing to get a little bit deeper black, but that shouldn't be an issue if we're second to last picking a River Trawler. Otherwise, so Sip of Hemlock and Griptide, both very strong cards that I would like. But Grey Merchant, a little bit too good for us to pass up here. Okay, wow, some amazing options here. Got Nimbus Naiad, Blood Toll Harpy, Shipwreck Singer, Triton Fortune Hunter, Dissolve, Ordeal of Thassa, all very good. I like Shipwreck Singer. It does, however, die to Drown in Sorrow, as does Blood Toll Harpy. Nimbus Naiad at least has the advantage of making something get out of range of Drown in Sorrow. I think I actually want the Nimbus Naiad for a couple reasons. First and foremost, it's evasive. Secondly, like I said, it actually works reasonably well with Drown in Sorrow, so we can bestow it on a guy. Works with River Trawler, we can bring it back. Works well with Astronomer. It's just got all sorts of little synergies that I like and specifically fit well in this deck. So I think we're going to just snatch up the Naiad pretty happily here and hope to table the Shipwreck Singer, Dissolve, Fortune Hunter, or Ordeal, or Blood Toll Harpy for that matter. Okay, so now we've got Wavecrash Triton, which is definitely a plan I want to get on board with. Omen Speaker is also good, as is Cavern Lampad, but Wavecrash Triton is just exactly what I want. I want Heroic Guys. This one controls for us, helps us get to the late game. I am in with that plan. I like it. Let's do it. Wavecrash, and if we could wheel Omen Speaker or Cavern Lampad, that would be very beneficial for us. Okay, so we're finally out of stuff that's on color with us in this pack. So could just hate the best card, which is presumably Stone Shock Giant, Observant Alcid. Savage Surge is a trick, but hopefully that's less of a deal. Prowler's Helm lets us get in, but we're blue-black, so we're already pretty evasive. Seems, I mean, it could be good against us. We have to lock them down if they have it equipped. I think Vacuum, the Stone Shock Giant's the best card in this pack. It's even better than the Bestow guy. I think it's just a really, really solid uncommon finisher, so let's hate that from somebody. Ooh, we get a sexy pick here. Definitely taking the Keepsake Gorgon. Big fan of that card in general. Certainly the most powerful in a vacuum, as well as just being a very strong, solid finisher. So, okay. Gorgon it is. Second Wavecrash Triton? Yeah, I think that's in order. Always a good card. Very good blocker. I want some more targeted stuff. Currently, we've only got the Naiad Oracle's Insight that I've got, which isn't that great, but we can start focus firing on it a little bit. Yeah, we want the Wavecrash Triton for sure. Happily snagging that. Flamecast Wheel, sideboarded it before. Staunch Hearted Warrior is the best card in the pack. Let's just prevent people from having Staunch Hearted Warrior. I think it's just a wee bit too annoying to play against. Alright, we've got Opaline Unicorn. It dies to our Drown in Sorrow, which makes it less appealing. We can also take the Benthic Giant, which is a reasonable finisher. Not a great one. Certainly not a great one, but a playable card nonetheless. Do I need the Unicorn? Probably not, but I would say Benthic Giants tend to go later than... well, they probably equally go later, but let's just take the Unicorn. Even though it dies to Drown in Sorrow, if we're playing Control, there's a chance we might need some colorless ramp. Best card in here against us is presumably the Snarecaster, locking up a guy. So, yeah, I guess we can take that. Alright, we did table the Shipwreck Singer. We're going to take that over the Benthic Giant. I do like this card a lot. I think it can do some really cool stuff, so I'm happy that we tabled that. It's a good sign for blue-black. Don't need either of these cards. We're going to take Gainsay for the sideboard. Good sideboard plan. Alright, we'll hate the Prowler's Helm now. I don't want to deal with that. Guardians of Meletus, certainly playable. Probably not necessary in this deck, but certainly better than the Piper. And Crackling Triton is playable. Loathsome Catoblepas, not so much. So currently sitting at 22. I can already, well, we're not playing that. I could 21 then. So I'm already seeing a couple things I would certainly not mind upgrading. I wish we had more enchantment creatures to return with our River Trawler. Currently we're just looking at Nimbus Naiad. So this deck needs more targeted stuff. Triton Tactics work very well. Wow, Bow of Nylea, I'd like to take that, but it's not going to happen. Ordeal of Thassa is actually very good. So is Voyage's End, though. We're more control-ish. If we're more control-ish, we're going to want the bounce. We're actually a wee bit short on removal as well. Mogisi's Marauders is, of course, good, but not exactly necessary. We do look like we're light. We got some light black out of that pack, so Gray Merchant didn't pan out as well for us, but yeah, we're going to take Voyage's End. Let's take the bounce. I do like Ordeal. It does target, but Voyage's End also can target our guy. Not for great value, but I just want it. I think we have enough finishers. Wouldn't mind one or two more, but let's take the Voyage's End. Okay, so choices now are Ordeal, Sea God's Revenge, Prescient Chimera. I think we could take the Ordeal now. I want the Prescient Chimera. Certainly upgrade some things, but I think Ordeal is going to work better with our Wave Crash Tritons. I believe it is. I want the Prescient Chimera too, but we're more control-ish. Ordeal's not terrible in control, I don't think. Not when you have heroic guys. Meletus Astronomer actually is looking kind of lousy in here. I'm going to take the Ordeal. Okay, choices now. I think we just got to slam the second Nimbus Naiad. As much as I want Dissolve for this deck, or Scourge Mark even, we're pretty likely to wield the Scourge Mark, so that's a solid pick in here. But let's take the Nimbus Naiad. Another thing for our River Trawler as well as Meletus Astronomer to search up, so I'm definitely down with that. Very important card for what we're trying to do. Okay, Burnished Heart, Triton Fortune Hunter, Blood Toll Harpy. Let's take the Fortune Hunter. Current targeted effects are Voyage's End, which I'm not going to be doing that often. Ordeal is definitely good on it. Naiad's certainly good on it. Oracle's Insight good on it. Okay. Let's take the Fortune Hunter. Not the most control-ish card. I can't even pretend to say that's the case, but I don't think Blood Toll Harpy is exactly what a control deck wants to do when you're already kind of battling against the aggressive decks. But Fortune Hunter is certainly satisfactory. I mean, Aqueous Form's fine too. I don't like it as much in control either. Let's take the Fortune Hunter. Okay. Here, I think we take the Chimera. It's playable. We already have to make a couple cuts, so probably not main decking the Eye Gouge. Probably would prefer to not main deck the Serpent, but I mean, it's a fine card. Drifters dies to Drown in Sorrow, so I'm a little bit less impressed. This is 23. I mean, Chimera is just a blocker. It's totally just your basic run-of-the-mill blocker. Maybe we don't need the Unicorn as much, but getting to 5 could be good. Let's cut the Unicorn too, and let's put in the Chimera. Okay, great choices here. So we have Sip of Hemlock, Pharykis Cure, and Cavern Lampad. Well, setting up for a Fated Return, we're probably going to want the Sip of Hemlock. On the other hand, Pharykis Cure is significantly cheaper, and we already are pretty black intensive, so it's not as big a deal. I think the Sip is a little bit more permanent removal, which I like. I mean, I want the Cavern Lampad too. I want more action for River Trawler, but what's our removal suit looking like currently? We've got Voyage's End, Asphyxiate, Drown in Sorrow, Whelming Wave, which is pseudo removal. Keepsake Gorgon, same thing. Let's take the Sip. It's pretty hard removal. I don't think you can deny that. Also don't have any 6-drops currently. Alright, Phalanx is exactly what this deck wants. Early blocker, mid finisher, doesn't die to Drown in Sorrow. We could take a second Triton. Yeah, it's probably fine. none of these cards are super interesting to me. I don't think I'm likely to play Thassa's Bounty. It seems a little bit, although works well with the Faded Return. I think it's just a little bit too cute. That being said, Agent is probably the best against us because it can get unblockable, so let's just hate that. Oh wow, Table Depression Chimera, which is great news. Much better finisher in my opinion than the Benthic Giant, so okay. Second Chimera, probably not necessary, but let's take it anyway. We might have a need for it. Spear Point's best card remaining in that pack. Hate another Prowler's Helm. Alright, so good news. Certainly have enough playables. No real bad news. I would have liked better finishers, but I think the finishers we have are fine. Faded Return, it probably is worth at least trying in this deck, but I can see it being pretty bad. Or at least not bad necessarily, but lackluster. I think the issue is we only have 2 pieces of actual hard removal, and the rest is lockdown or bounce. So presumably we're not going to get the value out of it that I want. Let's just take a look at what a deck looks like without it. May not be needing those Crackling Tritons either, honestly. This is 24. I want that Shipwreck Singer. Okay. This is 24. Let us separate out the non-creature spells here. I like the Insight still. This deck is good. Maybe too many 5-drops, so I think we have enough finishers, so why don't we cut the Floodtide Serpent. He's pretty much just a blocker in this deck anyway. We didn't end up with any cantrip auras, so he seems less necessary, especially with the amount of 5-drops we have. And we could probably cut one of our Coastline Chimeras. It's certainly the most underwhelming card in the deck. Otherwise, we could also cut the River Trawler. Currently, it only brings back Nimbus Naiads, which is less impressive. We only have 2 of them. It also dies to Drown in Sorrow. Okay, I think I talked myself into cutting this card. I do like that it gives you value. It gives us a little Grey Merchant action, but Grey Merchant, admittedly, does not look great in here, but he's always useful if you're in black. He also survives Drown in Sorrow. We're pretty well protected against Drown in Sorrow. That's another great thing about this deck. The only real vulnerable guys are the Singer, Fortune Hunter, and Siren possibly, but not likely. Other than that, this deck is certainly playable. There's enough finishers. I would have liked more finishers, I guess, but between the double Nimbus Naiad, Siren, Prescient Chimera, Keepsake Gorgon, we probably have enough finishers. We didn't pick up any super big fatties, so Trauma Kratos would have been a very welcome addition to this deck, but I also don't consider Faded Return really a finisher. Could try it. Maybe it's a better sideboard card. I could see sideboarding into this. If they have some guy that we really want to steal, I could see it being useful. Other than that, this deck's certainly satisfactory. Nothing amazing. It's control-ish. We have a good creature count. I would have liked more control cards in general. We didn't pick up a ton of removal, or at least not as much as I would have liked. The Voyages in, Asphyxiate, Drown in Sorrow, Sip of Hemlock, Double Wavecrash Triton, though, is certainly enough, as well as Keepsake Gorgon. So, I mean, the removal exists in our deck. It's just not as prevalent as a control deck's typically is. But, yeah, we're going to try this for sure. Need that double black, so we need double blue as well. No, we can't do that. Let's do 9, 8. I presume we're not playing Drown in Sorrow until turn 4, 5 at least. Asphyxiate you want to play right away, though. Let's look at our curve again. I feel a little bit uncomfortable going 9 Swamp, 8 Island, considering how much more blue we have. So I think we are going to do 9-8 this way. Yeah, this deck is good. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to keep this, and we'll see. I guess actually Floodtide Serpent works well with Whelming Wave, doesn't it? I just realized that. We don't have any other serpent creatures, per se, or krakens or whatever. It actually is a lot of things on there, but no, I think just the Floodtide Serpent. It's not worth it. Not necessary. I would prefer to not have another 5-drop too, considering we have 0 ramp. Alright, we're going to play it like this. I'll see you guys round 1.